T L.
It's time!
W
T L.
I think we got a show. Oh yeah, we got a show.
W
T L.
And welcome back, everybody, to WTL. Where's the line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I'm your host, Andy Class, and joined by
Jabron.
Ooh, the Parlay Pounder.
You got it. We're back.
Oh, my God. And you got to be in seventh heaven,
I
cloud
am.
nine. I mean, how do they say that
It's
now?
just something that hasn't happened in 20 years. The Twins are on to the second round of the playoffs. It's a historical night for me, and with my fandom, as you know, for the Minnesota Twins, I'm sitting pretty high right now.
So we had to bring in the big guns.
Yes.
Well, I mean, it's not just you. We got the Marissa Voss.
Yes.
Hailing from Minnesota.
Woo!
Absolutely.
Over there at Hurrdat Sports, doing your thing, right?
I am. I'm so happy you guys asked me to go, and just like we said, the Twins won.
Yes.
This is huge and great timing because I'm jacked. I'm through the roof. I don't even know. I was sitting over at DJ's and I was like, I don't even know how to feel. I was
Yeah.
driving over here. I'm like, I don't even know how to encompass this. But yeah, over at Hurrdat Sports, doing a lot of great things, and now everybody's gonna hear me talk nonstop about Minnesota Twins. So
There it
it's gonna be
is. Finally, we bring somebody that's on my side of the
Yeah.
team, Andy.
Yeah.
Usually just bashers coming at me
Right.
about the parlays and
Right.
everything.
Yeah.
Finally got a Minnesota
Yeah.
Twins fan on the air.
Well,
Let's go.
Absolutely.
You know, that's just kind of how Twitter or X kind of
Yeah.
works. You know, you put something out there and they just sit there and wait for something to
Oh,
not
yeah.
go
It's
your
the
way.
worst.
We hear a
It's
lot
little
about
toxic.
yeah.
A little
Yep.
toxic.
I'm like, do you understand what has to happen for a 5-leg parlay to land?
A
like,
lot.
do you really get
A
it?
lot.
But
I like to call them keyboard Karens.
Yeah.
So I'm like, you don't understand. You're just sitting there like,
Yeah,
this is gonna
this
go.
guy
I'm
lost,
like,
this guy
shut
lost.
up. Exactly.
So to kind of put a bow on it here, the Twins swept the Blue Jays.
Woo.
The 3 seed took care of business,
Yeah.
beat the 4 seed in the or the 6 seed Blue Jays. Total was set at 8 runs. Obviously, that went way under. Sonny Gray took care of business through the shutout. Former Oakland Athletic.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, of course. That's how it goes.
Duran got the save.
Yep.
Johan Duran.
Johan.
So, and at the time of the opening pitch, I believe the Twins were a minus 145 favorite. You go back to game 1, man, that game had everything.
Yeah, for sure.
Absolutely.
Plays at the plate, Royce hitting a couple dingers for you. And you could feel that tension, that drama that only playoff baseball brings.
Yeah.
From the first inning to the ninth, I watched the whole thing, and in that 8th inning, we were on our way out to the studio. I was like, man, when Vlad Guerrero Jr. hit that leadoff double, no outs and a guy on second base, I'm like, here it comes.
Here we go.
Here it goes.
Yeah,
Yep.
as a Minnesota Twins fan, you get accustomed to things like this. We get up in a game because we usually do have pretty dang good teams or whatever, but it just. If something's going to happen, it's going to happen late. And, we usually don't have the bullpen or the pitching to back it up and everything. This team is different. It
Yes.
really is
Yes.
different.
Yes.
Oh, it is.
The Minnesota, the top half of the team here really went out and got some pitchers this year. We got Pablo, we got Sonny Gray, we got Bailey Ober. We got a whole bunch of these guys that can go deep into games. And then what's always missing is that back half of the pitching staff, and we got it this year. Like you said, we got Duran that throws over 100 on every single one of his pitches, and he's got a hooking curveball that is a strikeout pitch. So it's all lining up for the Twins right now, and I really do like their chances against the Houston Astros coming this weekend.
So, Marissa,
Yes.
he hit on a few points there. Do you believe in this bullpen then? Because the back half of it, is there enough to win? You won the best of 3. You won the 2-game series here in the, let's call it a bunny bracket, the wild card, whatever it is. Now you're squaring off with who won the AL West in the Astros. Do you have enough?
I do. I mean, you haven't even seen Joe Ryan, right? You haven't even seen some of the guys
Kenta Maeda.
that exactly. You haven't even seen Kenta. These guys. What I'm really excited about in Game 2 is Jax is Stewart. Are you kidding me?
Okay.
Louis Varland, when he came in, it was okay.
Yeah,
he did what he had to do, right?
Yeah.
But with Stewart in the 7th inning, just absolutely shutting it down. Those are the guys that need to step up, and they're believing in it. And the reason why they're believing in it is because the fans were cheering.
Yeah.
Right. They gave them hope. They gave them something to believe in. I think that we have a bullpen, and I think that we're going to make it through. Also, just overall, it's different.
Yeah.
Because defensively, Oh my God. In first game and second game, that was the difference. Yeah, Royce Lewis popped off in the first game, and then we have a couple RBIs from Carlos Correa hitting Royce Lewis.
Yep.
C4.
But defensively, we have been lights out through the first 2 games, and that's what's going to make the difference. If we can figure out offensively how to hit a couple more dingers and not rely on our rook as much, we'll be great.
As good as Royce Lewis is, we have to understand that he's a rookie. These are huge spots in his first appearance in the playoffs. But we got to get our guys. Max Kepler, Jorge Polanco are veteran guys that have been here before, in big games before, to step up and get some RBIs for us. Really, one thing I really want to touch on, Andy, is everybody's talking to me. I already hear the chirping.
Oh, really?
About Houston being these world beaters. And they were taking on water. They just beat Texas by 1 game to get into this bye weekend. So I don't think they're as big a world beaters as everybody's trying to tell me. Like, they're these World Series champions, all this kind of stuff. A lot of these people aren't here from these World Series
former
champions. Now, they do have the big 4. They got Jose Altuve, Alex Bregman, Alvarez, and Kyle Tucker, who can make up for a lot of that. And those are 4 really, really good players. But I just don't believe that even their starting rotation, even with Justin Verlander and Valdez, that they have enough to go a long series. So if they do not get the first 2 games in Houston, I'm putting this as a lock for the Minnesota Twins to win this series because of our rotation. Because we have 5 guys that can go day in, day out as some of the best starters in baseball.
See Marissa over there saying, let's go.
I'm so excited.
The stats
I'm
prove
literally so
themselves. We were
excited.
#1 in strikeouts this year in all of Major League. So we have the pitchers to do this as long as our bats can get going because it's going to take more than 3 runs to beat the Houston Astros. It's going to...
to kind of get on board with you here, the Twins only lost 3 less games. I mean, they won 87 total games. Houston only won 90 games on the season. So it's not like that big of a difference. There's no discrepancy there in my mind. And I get it. The Twins came from a lesser division, I guess. And the Mariners might have won 1 or 2 more games and did make the playoffs, but that's why you got to win your division.
You got to win your division.
That happens in football, baseball, every year. And I don't want to hear it. Win your division. That's all there is to it.
Exactly.
And then with Houston, it's not the same cast of characters, and you're preaching to the choir because I went heavy on their pitching staff in fantasy baseball, and that's what people love to hear about is your fantasy team. I think I got second to last.
You did. It wasn't a good year for Andy's team.
It wasn't a good team.
No,
it wasn't a good year.
It wasn't. Thanks a lot, Houston.
Well, I'm just saying, Andy, and the way that you look at this matchup, you can tell the odds makers aren't overly for Houston either.
No.
They come in as a -170 favorite with the Twins being a +140 underdog. That's pretty straight up.
That is.
Especially when you get the first 2 games in Houston. So I don't believe that a lot of people think that this is a foregone conclusion that the Astros are going to win this. And I think it makes sense looking at roster to roster. It looks pretty straight up to me.
Like all playoff baseball, basketball, you got to steal one on the road. Marissa, can they do that?
I think so. I mean, you have seen that it's different, right? The hashtag We Believe in TC.
Yeah.
Everything surrounding this team just feels different this year. And I think it's extremely possible to grab one on the road, especially if you have... On Saturday, we're getting our starting rotation, right? We get a couple guys in. We get Joe Ryan off to a hot start. Maeda is believing in it. We're definitely going to take one. And if we take one away...
Definitely.
We're definitely going to take one away. And if we do, and when we take that over to Target Field, you've seen...
Yeah.
I don't think people realize when they were watching the game, I could hear the fans. I don't think the fans sat down. It was loud. It was crazy. I have never seen Target Field or the Metrodome like that in my years, and I'm 26 years old. So it's different.
It was right before you
exactly
that it was happening.
Exactly.
But I totally agree with what you're saying. But it's going to come down to, Andy, and this whole thing, the whole grand scheme of thing is going to be Minnesota pitching versus the star-studded lineup with the Houston Astros. Something that I really want to point out, that we might get a boost on offense
Apple Watches.
with a returning Byron Buxton. If Byron Buxton comes back in this series and is good enough to bat, he is one of those sluggers that can really put a stamp for Minnesota in the middle of that lineup. So I really like Buxton hitting right behind Carlos Correa because it makes them pitch to Correa and makes them really
they would make Buxton
Exactly.
be the DH because
Exactly.
I think a lot of
absolutely.
folks that don't follow Minnesota on the reg like you guys do.
Yeah.
Wasn't that game one where a home run was stolen?
Yeah.
And everyone's like, well, yeah, it's Buxton doing his thing. Oh, it wasn't.
No,
No,
it's
that
wasn't.
not.
No.
It's
No.
Taylor.
It was Taylor.
playing.
Yeah.
Michael A. Taylor, that's who I wanted to talk about. Kind of like,
Yeah.
he has been phenomenal. I think a lot of people, when we
has.
picked him up, were like, who? What? And he has been amazing.
Yeah.
He is like just coming into that role in center, and he's getting everything, diving plays and
Yeah.
stealing, things that could be obviously the home run and everything
Right.
else. So Michael
Huge
Taylor,
play.
Just
Taylor
long
is
plays to center field as well. He's stealing and coming up and stuff like that. But no, it's hard for Twins fans that don't follow a lot to just look at our lineup and say Byron Buxton's not in it. We don't have a chance.
Exactly.
Because we're paying him so much money, and rightfully so. But no, I really believe just with the offensive boost that we'll get with Buxton, if he can come back in this series, he was real close to playing in this wild card. I think Rocco thought that we can get by this series without him. If he can get just a couple more days rest, couple more days healing.
You're at home. You were at
We're
home.
at home. We're
Exactly.
playing against the Blue Jays, but I really believe he's going to get activated, and I think it's going to be the boost that this Twins team needs to get past these Houston Astros.
And if you're looking at futures, Houston's right there behind the Atlanta Braves. They're at like a plus 400, plus 450.
Yeah.
You can still get the Twins at a plus 1,000. I just looked at the book before we went on the air, and I saw a plus 1,000, plus 750, depending where you're looking.
For sure.
I mean, and if I'm listening to you guys, I'm like, give me that plus 1,000.
Well, I mean, don't go
Absolutely.
crazy with it. Don't go crazy with it. Don't drop the
Well, of
mortgage
course
on
not.
it.
Right?
Yeah, yeah,
Don't
yeah.
Exactly.
But no, I think we're a gritty team. Like I said, pitching, that's what it comes down to in playoff baseball, and then heroics at the end of the game by the hitters. It goes down to, can you keep the game close, and then the heroics at the end of the game. So I believe that we have the pitching rotation to do this. Will our
go.
veterans step up and score some runs for us?
One thing that makes me a little weary is Jorge Polanco at third base.
Yeah.
We saw him, in the first game mess up, and then Correa had to come from shortstop and make the absolutely insane
Crazy play
play
at the
to
plate.
home
Yep.
and then get tagged out. So then obviously the Blue Jays don't get momentum. But the same kind of thing, I saw him struggle in game 2 at third base, and obviously that's because Royce Lewis is DHing.
Yeah.
Obviously they don't want to stray him too much, but also Byron Buxton isn't in the lineup. Then there's a lot of missing pieces, but I think he just looks uncomfortable, and
Not as natural.
Exactly. So that's the one thing. Hopefully we get Buxton back. Hopefully everything's back in order. And if so, then I do agree everything will fall into place. It's just he just looked so unnatural
For
out
sure.
there.
He's a second baseman playing
Absolutely.
third base right now. So if we can get Ruiz, if it's not a Royce Lewis playing third base like his natural position, that's the best for the Twins, and that's our best way to win.
Exactly.
Look out for the Twinkies.
Let's go.
Give
Look
me
out
that
for the
plus-
Twinkies.
Give me that plus 750.
Let's go.
Let's take a minute to recognize one of our fabulous partners, and that is the Nebraska Brewing Company. We've been enjoying the smooth, easy drinking Ale Storm, the official beer of Omaha's AAA baseball team. Crafted with Pilsner malt and Sterling hops, making it the perfect baseball beer. Don't go anywhere. This is WTL. And welcome back, everybody, to WTL. Where's the Line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I'm your host, Ian D. Class, and joined by
Jabron.
Parlay Pounder.
You got it. You got it.
Oh, man, you still got to be riding that high. The Twins.
I will not stop until Saturday. I will not stop until Saturday.
And I didn't want to rain on the parade or whatever, but you guys threw a little salt in the wound there in that opening segment, because the last time the Twins won a series was against my Oakland Athletics.
Yep.
That was the Moneyball season.
Yeah, if you want to watch the thing, just watch
had
the
to
end of Moneyball.
Yeah.
All the good stuff happens, and then you lose to the Twins.
Yep.
My
exactly.
Yeah,
Eddie Gordato, the GOAT.
Yeah, just you guys talk about heartbreak. Yeah, talk about an Oakland
Talk
fan.
about
Oh
Oakland,
my
man.
God.
We're just like all the Spider-Man meme,
Yeah.
just like pointing at
Pointing at
heartbreak.
each
We're just
other.
like,
yeah.
And so we got Marissa Voss back
Yeah.
in the studio with us here. We're going to talk a little college football
Heck yeah.
now.
Love it.
Love
Because
that.
there's some big games out there with some big betting lines.
Yeah.
And none bigger than this one we're probably going to start off with, and that is the Red River rivalry.
Yeah.
Talking about the Sooners, 5-0. The Longhorns, they're also 5-0. Texas, number 3 in the nation. Oklahoma, number 12. This has everything to it. Texas, a slim 3-point favorite, I believe was the last line I looked at. No,
Yeah.
6.5.
6.5 is what it should be.
6.5 with that hook. Yeah, they're 3 in the nation, excuse me. That over-under sitting at 60.5. A little bit of inflated, but you don't really have to use your imagination to see these two teams going off combining for 60 points. That's going to be on ABC, 11 o'clock kickoff. Jabron, what's your initial thoughts on this one?
It's going to make a lot of people scratch their head, but I'm on Oklahoma for this game.
Whoa.
More often than not, the Sooners have held their own against Texas in the Red Rival. But in recent years, obviously, this team looks far better than the one that stumbled last year, 49-0. But I have to think that result has stuck with Oklahoma, and they're ready to get back. I believe Texas is riding a little bit high right now, and they need a little bit of a check game. I do not believe that Oklahoma is going to win this game, but I believe Texas is just going to squeak out with a field goal or a late touchdown. I believe that the Oklahoma can cover the 6.5.
Oklahoma's covered their last 6 games. So, that old adage, good teams win, great teams cover.
Yes, absolutely.
The Sooners,
100% for the Sooners.
They are covering. Marissa, how do you feel about this one?
I would say the same thing. I mean, it's hard when you go up against number 3 seed versus a 12 seed with the Sooners, and you're like, okay,
sure.
like on paper, whatnot. I can't, in my good honest, just because my ex lives in Texas. I can't go with the Longhorns.
All our
I can't.
exes live in Texas.
All my exes live in Texas, so I got to go with the Sooners with a big upset on this one.
Let's go.
One team's going to be walking out undefeated, and it's going to be the Sooners. So I love upsets. I'm just like, give them to me.
Well, and this is an upset that I don't think anyone would be surprised to see.
Oh,
Even
for
though
sure not.
Texas is ranked 3rd in the nation and all that stuff. I do want to throw this out there. The under has smacked 5 of the last 6 games that Texas has played in.
Yeah.
So, I see a easy path to that 60.5, but that's still a lot of points. And that's been getting burned up this season. Whether we're talking Colorado, we're talking Oregon. When we're talking the overs, we've been getting burned.
When we're talking about Big 12 and Pac-12 football, everybody says over. Those have been getting burned. Like you've been saying, I think this is a glaring, obvious one, Andy, because this is going to be a tight game. I believe this is going to be a tight game, and I believe it's going to hit that under as well. So I'm not trying to say Texas is not look good because they've looked awesome, but Oklahoma's been solid so far, and I think at worst keep this close and cover that spread.
You like the under, Marissa?
I like the under on that.
We're going
under. We're going under.
We're going under. All right.
All right, let's move on to another couple of ranked opponents here.
Yeah.
Number 10, Notre Dame. They lost that one game, a thriller at home. Man, that was fun. And, refs, bad calls, everything came into play
for sure.
As always, for every Notre Dame loss, it's the refs' fault, even if it's Ohio State. Yeah, but now they're going on the road to take on Louisville, however you want to say it. The Cardinals are 5-0. They're also a 6-point underdog at home to Notre Dame. Marissa, you want to start with this one?
Yeah, obviously, okay, this is a weird kind of thing because every time I tell people I'm a Minnesota fan, Minnesota Gopher fan, but I'm also an Ohio State fan.
Oh,
okay.
Yeah,
all
so
right.
I know it's a weird thing, but it's my uncle went there.
Okay.
So
OHIO.
that game, though, I swear I didn't think that Ohio State was going to win. I thought Notre Dame was going to win. And because
that feeling.
And I don't know how they did because Notre Dame is a really good squad, and I think that they deserve more, right? They deserve more height. They deserve more light. I think they're going to come out of this one obviously on top. I think they're going to hand the first L to Louisville, the Cardinals, whatever you want to say it.
Yeah.
I think they're going to hand the first L, and that's my opinion on it.
All right. Jabron, you got them covering this 6 points?
I do have Notre Dame winning this game, but I do believe that this line shows a little bit of it's Notre Dame, so they're ranked and they're going to win by a touchdown. I believe they've been a little too shaky over the last 2 weeks to have this inflated line here. Obviously, losing a heartbreaker to Ohio State and then escaping Duke. I really thought
they did escape that game.
I thought they were going to lose that game. I think they should have lost, but that's what good teams do. They win at the end.
Figure it out.
The Louisville Cardinals are a balanced team, 11th in total offense and 24th in scoring defense, Andy. So this is a very good team. This isn't just a walkover team like most people are probably giving him. I do believe they keep it close. I believe Notre Dame wins by a touchdown, though. They're going to squeak out for the third straight week.
They got you covering. I kind of feel like the best bet, and you kind of hit on it there, is the over. It's at 54 right now. And when people think Notre Dame, they think this ground and pound type.
Not this year.
Not. And yeah, they've really evolved. I love their quarterback, who they got, their trigger man. And the over has smacked 10 of the last 13 times. That's predating this new offense. And you just talked about Louisville. They are a high-flying offensive machine.
For sure.
I think they're going to cover this 54. I think that might be the best bet of this game.
I think you're right, Andy. Plus, it's a night game. The crowd is going to be fully into it. It's going to be points on both sides of the ball. I like the over. I like the cover by the Cardinals as well.
All righty, let's move on to a couple more ranked teams here between the Kentucky Wildcats and the Georgia Bulldogs. Number 1, Georgia Bulldogs. Let's see, Kentucky here. Where are you guys ranked at? They're ranked 20th, okay? But they're 5-0.
They're the Wildcats.
They're the Wildcats. Ooh, they're a Wildcat of a pick here. 14.5. You got the half-point hook there. Georgia has not impressed, but that might be because they're, everyone's thinking 3-peat and they need to roll everybody by 4 touchdowns. Are they going to win by over 2 touchdowns here, Jabron?
I really don't see this happening for Georgia. I saw this line at plus 24, Andy. I don't know if I'm wrong or right, or it's got bet down or whatever.
Let me see this. Yeah, it opened at 24. You're exactly right. It's been bet down to 14.5. It opened at 24.
Yeah. And now it's down to 14.5, Andy.
Yeah.
So that just tells me that a lot of people are jumping off this Bulldog bandwagon with these inflated lines just because they can't score the points to cover these lines. So if anybody got that at plus 24, that's an absolute lock because they will not beat this good Kentucky team by 24 points. Now, the 14.5 is a much easier path for the Georgia Bulldogs, but I still believe with that half point that I would have to ride with the Wildcats. So I'm going to take a stab with the Wildcats just because I don't believe Georgia's offense is just good this year. So they got a really, really good defense that keeps the scores low, but it's not the Georgia of old where they win 70-0.
Yeah.
So,
Marissa, where are you at with this one? Do you think Georgia can win by more than 2 touchdowns?
I don't know. I don't think so. Historically, if you look at this last year, won November 19th in 2022, 16-6. Georgia barely beat Kentucky.
For sure.
Right?
That was such a close one.
Exactly. And that's what for some reason, I think Kentucky has Georgia's number. It doesn't matter. And even you're looking at number 1 last year and how stacked they were, obviously. Yeah. So I think this year, without all of that components, it's going to be the same thing. I don't think you want to go covering and going to winning by 2 touchdowns. I think you want to go on the under on this one because that's just how these two teams match up.
Yeah, the over-under sitting there at 48, and Kentucky is a team that covers. They're 5-0, and they've covered 4 of the last 5 games.
Yeah.
I think I like the Wildcats here, too.
Yeah, a big reason, Andy, I should have mentioned this earlier, considering Kentucky's big rushing performance, enticing to think that they're going to find some success on the ground against Georgia. The Bulldogs gave up 219 yards rushing against Auburn. So I believe that if Kentucky can get this run game going, it's going to make the game go a lot faster. I believe that under hits, and I believe Kentucky covers this spread.
Boom, I like it.
Love it.
Under.
Love
Kentucky
it.
covering. That's a consensus here. I think that might be your best bet.
Yep, absolutely.
I think she's making us be nicer to each other.
I do think so. I'm just have that influence on people.
That's nice.
You guys are just really excited about the Twins.
We are.
I think we're on the high. We're like, everything is great and it's amazing.
I know one game that's going to bring us down from the high.
Oh, here we go. Oh. And this is the game that all of our eyeballs are on. You were talking about all these 5-0 teams, 4-1 teams. Let's talk about a couple of 2-3 teams right now. Man. That's the Nebraska Cornhuskers heading out to Champaign, glitzy Champaign, Illinois.
Stadium's on fire.
Yeah. Also, theirs is also Memorial Stadium. Do you know how much of a panic attack I had when I said, wait, Memorial? I was like, wait.
Yeah.
What's going on? Memorial Stadium's on fire. The one in Lincoln, but they're not playing in Lincoln. I was so lost.
And I love the report that came out. They play on artificial grass, and they said a lawnmower got caught on fire. I was like, why do they have a lawnmower?
What's going on?
A lot of questions coming out of Memorial Stadium.
It's like, what are you
in
talking
Champaign?
about? Why do you have a lawnmower?
Confused.
And with all that stuff going on, the Fighting Illini, the Fighting Brett Bielemas, are 3-point favorite. They're hanging on to this, and I get it. Nebraska got boat raced by Michigan. I was with our live show, the pregame show.
Man.
Everything went great except for the game. Yeah. And I was trying to stay positive. Marissa, you were there doing your thing, making really cool videos for TikTok and everything else. And I was trying to stay positive. We had no block, no rock there.
Of course.
Yeah, shout out.
They're kind of pessimistic, right?
Oh, they are. Absolutely, 100%.
But then they were 100% right.
Yeah.
But Illinois got beat by an average at best Purdue team.
Yeah.
So I don't know how to read into that. I was kind of thinking this would be a coin toss game.
Yeah, absolutely.
And now that with everything else that's coming out, and it's not all roses coming out of Illinois.
No.
I kind of like Nebraska. I really do, covering this 3 points.
Yeah, this is tough for me, Andy, because like you said, last Saturday in Lincoln was one of the funnest days in Lincoln until the game started. The party was nonstop. Everybody was just in good emotions for the Bussin' Bowl. Everybody was just going nuts until the game started. And then I told myself when I was walking out of that stadium with my tail between my legs, head down, I will never bet on this team again. Guess what? I've had a couple days.
There we go.
And now
we're
I'm
back in it,
on
baby.
the Huskers.
We're back in it.
I just, the Nebraska team obviously has trouble scoring the ball, but this Illinois team is not the same defense they had from last year.
Yeah.
They got ravaged by the NFL. They had a really, really good defensive squad.
Yeah.
They had losing 3 of their top guys in the top 75. I think these two are I'm going to take the lesser of 2 evils here, Andy, and bank on the Huskers running game getting going, prolonging this game. I see still books have this at 3.5. If you can get it at 3.5,
I like that.
smoke that. I'm a little weary about losing to Illinois at the end just because I know that we have not produced a fourth quarter drive this season that means anything. So if you can get it at 3.5, I'm on the Huskers. I'm still probably on them at 3. But if you're looking juicy, look at that money line because this is a team that we can play with, and it's going to be plus money for you. So
plus 126, right?
Yep. So if you're still on the Huskers, this is as good a chance as any of winning a game this year. So I'm go Big Red.
And I want to look at it from another angle, Marissa. I want to get your thoughts on this. The total is sitting there at 42.5. Hasn't had a lot of movement, and these are 2 under teams.
Yep.
Illinois, I think, has gone under 4 of their last 6 games, and everybody knows about Nebraska. 10 of the last 14 games, they have smacked that under. So not only is the offense struggling, like you mentioned there, and they are struggling, the odds makers can't even catch up to how bad the Huskers are. Going under 10 of 14, that's pretty wild, as sharp as some of these lines are.
Sure.
I still think this under might be the best bet of the game.
I think so. I mean, you're looking at 2 teams who are pretty similar if you look at them on paper side by side, and they're just low scoring. This is going to be a low scoring match, in my opinion. It's going to be, okay, maybe we're winning by a touchdown. Maybe we're probably more than likely going to be winning by a field goal, whether that be Illinois, whether that be Nebraska. And especially if who's going to be QB for Nebraska? Is it still up in the air? Is Jeff Sims going to win and play? Because if Jeff Sims plays, I don't like Nebraska. I'm not a Jeff Sims fan. I don't like him. Obviously, I saw how he played versus the first 2 games, and now he's a high ankle sprain, and all of a sudden you got the kid coming in that played. Didn't he play high school in Nebraska? Like the whole hometown, bring him in. But
Catholic.
I mean, I love it. I love the run game on that. So if you can get that going where you're not having Jeff Sims at QB, I really do believe in this Nebraska squad. I think that, they're going to be a little bit scared from Michigan because who isn't when you have that? I'm so sorry, guys. I'm so sorry. That was horrible to watch. It was very, very hard.
We've been through it.
But I mean, if you run the ball, it's like the blind side. It's like, hey, enough with the trick plays. Run the dang ball.
There we go.
That's what needs to happen. And then I think it's going to be low scoring, but I think Nebraska's going to edge this one out.
All right. I like the under.
I believe, too, in the Huskers' defense is where you really need to hang your hat on.
Yes.
We're going to keep, no matter what, the defense is going to keep this game close. And if we can get that run game going, make a few plays in the fourth quarter, we're going to win this game. So I do agree with everything she just said. Go Huskers, go defense, go running game.
There you go.
Love it.
Go Big Red.
Let's go.
Let's take a minute to recognize one of our fabulous partners, and that is the Stock and Rod Company, an outdoor lifestyle brand for those seeking adventure. Whether it's hunting, fishing, hiking, they got you covered. Visit stockandrod.com to get your wild game on. Don't go anywhere. This is WTL.
TL.
Capitalism is the only way, Leslie. It moves our country forward. It's what makes America great, and England okay, and France terrible.
TL.
And welcome back, everybody, to WTL. Where's the line? That stands for Where's the Line? WTL stands for
WTL.
Got it. I'm your host, Andy Klassen. Might be enjoying a little bit too much of our sponsor, Nebraska Brewing Company.
It happens. It happens.
Hey, I want to be with you guys. I'm celebrating the Twins winning.
Woo!
their first series since 2002.
Yeah.
And we got to talk a little bit more Major League
Let's
Baseball.
do it. Yeah. We spent a whole thing on the Twins. Let's
Yes.
get into these other teams that are in the playoffs that are going to lose to the Twins.
So this is the second. This is the second row. Okay. This is the second year though that we've gotten to look at this new 12-team format with a couple wild cards and a couple buys.
Yep.
Love it.
With the 1-2, and that. I think what you just said there, I think everybody's on board with this.
Absolutely.
It's so much better than the one-game playoff or the wild card, Andy. Adding another team and making this just the wild card weekend with a three-game playoff is way better than a team being able to throw in 7 starting pitchers into one game.
Yeah.
And, that's what it is. There's too much on the line with the one-game playoff, especially it just seems unfair at some point. So there's a reason that the Twins lost 18 in a row. A lot of them were.
Exactly.
More than half of them were wild card.
Yep.
One game
One and
type
done
deal
against the Yankees.
And I heard your coworker talking on Tuesday.
Yeah.
The Damon Benning show hosted by Ravi Lula.
Yeah.
And Ravi came back on Wednesday morning and said, "Hey, I watched 4 games of baseball. I usually, watch maybe 1 game a week, but this is playoff baseball. Love the format, love the layout, and there's something to it." And he admits he's a casual fan.
Yeah.
But this new format, how it's laid out, it does. It captures you and it sucks you in. And it's playoff baseball. There's something to it.
I think that's one of the things I love about it is because when you watch like the one game, it's like, okay, there's now, is this team going to come back? Is this team going to tie it up? Like a little bit of tension, right, that we know with playoff baseball. And again, like you said, like with Minnesota sports, it's hard when it was the one team game because you knew when going into it, okay, first off, we're going to play the Yankees and we're going to lose. Like there has only been two other times we haven't played the Yankees in postseason since 2004, and that's the A's, and that is obviously the Houston Astros.
Yep. All right, so real quick, the Rangers took care of business, knocked off the Rays, and that was a 5-4 matchup. The under seed won on that one. Now they take on the 1 seed surprise Baltimore Orioles. They just surprised early, and they just kept trucking along.
Yeah.
How do you guys... Well, first off, Marissa, were you surprised that the Rangers knocked off the Rays? Or was that kind of how you were measuring that one up?
No, I think a lot of people are surprised.
For sure.
I'm surprised because the Rays obviously started the season off a hot start, and they were doing great, and saw them slowly go down to the end of the season.
And they were depleted. Like, all their guys were hurt, and then they were coming back and thinking, oh, wow.
Yep.
So I think it's a little bit of shock for everybody, but at the same time, a little bit like, okay, that makes sense because of if you look at them on paper, injuries, all this other stuff, how their season was going, but still, potential frauds, trued out.
Yeah, for sure. And
frauds.
I'll give you a huge thing that the Tampa Bay Rays are just falling short on. It's the stadium and the fans. They only had under 20,000 people come to these games.
Yeah,
this is playoff baseball. You can make it to the World Series. This is a team that's been good year in, year out for the last 5 years in really being a heavy contender in a packed AL East
It's in Florida,
division.
too.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. So
that's what's crazy about
that's
it.
That's a huge thing. They didn't get on this Texas Rangers team like a opposing team should be. That's not going to happen this time. These Baltimore Oriole fans are...
Camden Yards.
Camden Yards is going to be
Love
rocking.
Yeah.
I'll give you a couple notes on the Rangers, though. The reason that they won these series is all because of pitching. Jordan Montgomery, coming over from the St. Louis Cardinals, had just an unbelievable performance in Game 1, and then Nathan Eovaldi, the old Red Sox, came in Game 2 and just... wiped them out. So that is the good news for the Rangers. The bad news is that they're playing probably the best team in the American League at this point in the Baltimore Orioles.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll end with your guys' final thoughts on the Twins Astros, but let's shift on over to the NLDS, National League here. Phillies took care of business. They beat the Miami Marlins. Good for the Marlins making it there. I don't think a lot of guys had them pegged to make it that far. This is a tricky spot for the Braves to be in. Now, their first round, they have to match up with the Phillies, and a lot of people believe they're the second best team coming out of the NL.
And I do believe that, Andy. I really do believe that the Philadelphia Phillies are probably the second best team probably in all of baseball, followed by the Baltimore Orioles.
Yep.
I believe it goes the Atlanta Braves, Philadelphia,
Philly,
Phillies,
and then,
Baltimore
yep.
Orioles.
Then Baltimore.
That is the way that I feel, and it's just the way that they are stacked up. The first six hitters could be the first six hitters for any ball club in Major League Baseball.
It's like an American League lineup, like they used to say.
It's like the Bronx Bombers. It really is. Yeah. So this is the biggest test for Atlanta coming out of the National League. I believe that they're going to face. So I'm really, really excited to see this series. It's going to be electric the entire time. Good pitching staffs on both sides. And then the best players in baseball. You got Bryce Harper. You got Ronald Acuna Jr. You got Kyle Schwarbaum. You got all these guys. Trey Turner.
Schwarber.
Yeah. So I'm just excited to see this one. I'm really excited the way it plays out. I do believe Atlanta is just the best team in the world.
So talented.
I do believe with the rest that they got. And the Phillies having to play 2 extra games here. I do believe the Braves have the one up. Spencer Strider is going to be able to
tally his 21st win of the season.
Yeah, he's going to take him deep into this game. But if time does tell, this Phillies team, they're built for these moments. So if they're a big underdog in the betting lines, these lines haven't came out yet. They'll come closer to Saturday. If they're a plus money big enough, I will take a flyer on the Philadelphia Phillies.
Yeah.
Love it.
And Marissa, opposite of what we're talking about with Tampa Bay, Philadelphia, Atlanta, those are sports towns.
Oh, absolutely.
And they get behind the Braves, they get behind the Phillies. So you're going to have opposite type of hometown crowds there supporting their teams. And this one, I don't think people would be surprised if it goes the distance.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, and I think either way, I mean, people, the Braves could win, the Phillies could win. This is such a great matchup overall, just with all of the talent and everybody that you have on the team. Like, this is going to be the pinnacle of baseball, in my opinion, and it's going to be
a baseball fan,
right? Yeah. Like, I'm just excited to watch this.
Awesome.
I'm a Twins fan, and I'm excited to watch this matchup.
For sure.
And either team, I think, could do it. I would think just with the momentum and everything going on, I'm kind of thinking the Phillies are going to take this one.
Ooh, let's go!
I do. I think
Great
the Phillies are going to. I don't know what it is, but I think again, it's a little bit of the momentum. It's a little bit of the fan experience, people backing each other, right? The Braves have always
underdog,
right? And besides the Rays, the Brave have been the team that people are like, oh yeah. And sometimes more than everything, the underdog does hit. The underdog hits.
And plus, we got to give a shout out to our Omaha boy, Alec Boehm. We have to give a shout out to him. Batting cleanup for the Philadelphia Phillies.
There we go.
Let's go.
There we go. Ron Colley, right? Ron Colley High School. How about that? All right, let's talk about the Brew Crew. Couldn't make it last. Nope. They got knocked off by the D-backs, taking on the Dodgers. Real quick thoughts here. I think we're all figuring Dodgers are just going to dominate.
Absolutely.
Right?
Absolutely.
And nobody saw the air, like we were saying about the last teams we were talking about, Arizona, nobody thought that they were going to be here, kind of like the Florida Marlins, just like you were talking about.
They're the 6th seed.
They're the 6th seed. They deserve to be the 6th seed. They came in and beat a home team 2 games in a row.
Crazy.
Went on the road, won 2 playoff games, but the Los Angeles Dodgers, I believe, are just going to be a little bit too much for them. Yeah. Dodgers know how to win in the postseason.
Yep.
Diamondbacks are going to have a short stay in Los Angeles. So.
Agreed. I mean, it's hard to go as the Diamondbacks to go to Brewer Stadium and then not to beat 1 game, but then to beat 2, which again, if you're going to win the first game, especially out of 3, you're probably going to win the second. That's just how it rolls.
The way it
goes. It's crazy for that to go to 3, but there's no way that the little 6th seed is going to match up against this LA Dodgers squad, especially after them having a bye.
All these guys.
There's just no way it's going to happen. They're going to get throttled.
All right, I don't think I need to necessarily ask you guys, but all right, let's go back to the American League here. The Twins are going on the road to take on the Houston Astros. And this is only a 2-3 seed matchup. People forget the Twins won their division. They're the 3 seed. But they got to steal one of these first 2 in Houston. How do you see this going, Marissa?
Well, this is what's really hard is because the AL Central was not good, right? It was, everybody's like, oh, you just won because you had to get above 500 or whatever because everybody else was bad. And I get that, and I understand that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, what we're doing is we're heating up at the right moment. I don't care how the regular season goes. What matters is you show up in the playoffs, and we showed up. We did. Obviously, we won the series, and now we're going to take that momentum, which we haven't felt in so long, and we're going to take it to the Astros. We're going to win one. We're going to go for it, and this is how it's going to be. And then we're going to come back to the home crowd, and we're going to show the Astros how it feels to be cheated out of
there we go.
playoffs.
Yeah, no, I agree. And obviously we
Twist
have
that a little bit.
Our team leader now is one of those cheaters, but we'll look
it's
past
fine.
that.
We'll find.
No, big thing that I just want to end with here, Andy, is that the Houston Astros during the season were under 500 at home.
Yeah.
They were 39-42 at home.
Okay.
Obviously, a staggering 51-30 on the road. The Twins, on the other hand, that's our bread and butter. Is
On the
at
road?
home. At home, 47-34 at home. So I believe if we can steal one of these games at Houston, we really play at home. Rocco said in his post game that the crowd noise is a threat in Minnesota. So if we can steal one of these, which I do believe we can with Sonny Gray and Pablo going first 2 games, I believe we can steal one. If we do, look out, Houston. There's a new king in town.
I like that. I like that a lot. And I didn't know those stats as far as home and away record.
Yeah.
And so that just leads you to believe the Twins can steal one. And if they can get it at home, look out, right?
Look out.
I'm so tempted. I can't even describe to you that I'm like, if you see me at one of the games on the 10th or 11th, don't be surprised. I'm not even kidding you. I might pull the bullet. I might pull the trigger and be like, boom,
we did this a couple years ago. We're just like, are we going to be able to see the Twins in the postseason ever again?
Exactly.
So, and we pulled the trigger. We went up on a Wednesday, I believe.
Yep.
And that's the way you do it. So, no, if we meet up there, that's just going to be like, hey.
If we have a beer at Cowboy Jacks and somebody sees a picture of us, don't be shocked.
On the corner, Cowboy Jacks.
That's a great way to segue into our fabulous sponsor, and that is the Nebraska Brewing Company. World class in every glass. That is the Nebraska Brewing Company. Don't go anywhere. This is WTL. And welcome back, everybody, to WTL. That's Where's the Line? Nebraska's first and only sports betting show. I'm your host, Andy Class, and joined by
Jabron.
The Parlay Pounder.
You got it. We're back, and I may have a parlay play at the end of this segment.
May have. You better have.
I have.
You
one.
better.
I have
You are
one.
the Parlay Pounder.
Stay tuned. I have one.
And we got Marissa Voss.
Yes.
Yes. We're back.
Hanging in there? Feeling good?
Oh, I'm feeling great. Feeling fantastic.
I mean, we talk playoff baseball. The Twinkies are doing their thing. The Twin Cities are back.
Yes.
We
in
are
October.
back, baby.
We're back.
Talk some college football.
It's great.
We gotta
great.
We gotta get into the league though.
Let's do it.
Gotta finish strong.
I'm into it.
Let's do it.
All right, let's talk about a team that a lot of folks in our listening area kind of root for.
Yeah.
Having a tough season, but I think it was kind of to be expected.
It has to be.
That's the 1-3 Denver Broncos taking on or hosting the 1-3 Jets. There's some reason to believe with Denver, and the odds makers are on that as well. This line has moved to a 1.5-point favorite are the Broncos. That over-under sitting there at 43. This is a 3:30, 3:25 kickoff on CBS. I'll start with you, Jabron. How are you measuring this one up?
I'm going to stay with Denver here, Andy.
Yeah.
Denver started off slow in their win over the Bears last weekend. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
But eventually managed 311 yards overall, 214 passing, 17 first downs and 0 turnovers, Andy. That's the big stat that I want everybody to know about is that 0 turnovers because this past year in the first couple games with Denver, it was them kind of turning the ball over. So I really like them here. As for the Jets, they get some credit for crawling back against a good Chiefs team, but New York's defense gave up 400 yards.
Man, that's what the Chiefs do. They get up on you and then they just
don't
take
care.
their foot off
They
the
don't
gas.
care.
They really don't care. Marissa, how are you measuring this one up?
This one's really hard because the Denver Broncos are just the Denver Broncos, right? When you get stomped 70-20 versus the Miami Dolphins, are you ever taken seriously? No, probably not. But at the same time, I do give a lot to the Jets because obviously they lost Aaron Rodgers and that's really, really tough. And Zach Wilson's stepping in. But I really think they would have won that game if Zach didn't get that fumble, right? And he said that was on him post, and I know the defense, and I know everything. But give me the Jets on this one, and I'm not just saying that because Mike Sauter is my coworker, and he would kill me if I didn't. But I just don't believe right now in Russell Wilson and the Denver Broncos, and I just don't.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to do it, and I think that Zach is going to have a little bit of redemption and character development in this game.
There are some really funny storylines going into this game, because there's so much shade being thrown at Zach Wilson.
Yes.
And I don't think it deserves to be.
Exactly, correct.
He makes mistakes, I get it, but he's a young guy and he's,
Yeah, for sure.
He's trying to fill in for Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
And then on the other side, Russell Wilson, I think he's like the second highest rated passer. Like
Yeah.
he's in the top 5 in all
Yep.
meaningful categories as far as quarterbacks in the NFL right now. So like I kind of want people to put that on the shelf, put that away.
Yes.
He had a bad season last year.
Yeah,
Broncos had a bad season last year.
for sure.
This year, they're off to a slow start.
For sure.
But Russell Wilson is putting up points.
Exactly.
He is making plays. And it's not with all of his top flight receivers either. I mean, he's working with Cortland Sutton as his number one.
Number one.
And
Yep.
he's still, I think, as far as QBR ratings, he's number 2 in the league.
Which is crazy to think about.
Yeah. This total is at 43. That might be where I'm like, I know it's already low, but I like the under.
Yeah,
Oh, absolutely.
It's very tough for me to think that. Well, one of two things. Two things have to happen there.
Yeah.
Denver has to have another good week on offense, and then the Jets have to have an okay
Yeah.
week on offense, which I don't think both can hit at the same time.
I don't either.
So whichever way the game goes, I like the under as well.
That game last
Yep.
week for Denver, that was a perfect scenario, like you're saying. They
Yep.
were down to the Bears, so there's urgency. They had to come back,
Yep.
and it's pretty good when you got to come back against the worst defense in the league.
Oh gosh, you're a
that-
Bears
and-
fan. That makes
That always helps.
In a struggling offense.
that's rough. Listen, I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan, and we suck this year. But you being a Bears fan, I feel really, really bad.
Yeah.
I do.
Bears, Panthers, worst two.
Oh
worst
my
two
gosh!
teams in the
And
league.
but
Love
look
the
at us.
sympathy
Look at
here.
us. We're all horrible here.
Yeah.
We are.
Yep.
Yeah, it's tough. It's tough. Well, let's talk about. Well, we're gonna stay with the Vikings here.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But the Kansas City Chiefs are heading up to Minneapolis, and they find themselves a 4-point dog. That over-under has moved to 52.5.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of going back and forth. A lot is going on the under.
Yeah.
I'm kind of surprised at that because
too.
you're talking about the high-flying Chiefs offense.
Yep.
Even when they don't do good,
Yeah.
they do really good.
Exactly.
And Kirk Cousins is tearing it up again. I know he makes an interception or a fumble, and that's what people talk about. But as far as numbers, touchdowns, completions, he's at the top of the league again, just like Russell
Yes.
Wilson. But people don't focus on that. It's like the stats are telling me Kirk Cousins is pretty darn good.
Yeah, for sure, Andy. And the Chiefs should be an obvious favorite here, and then blowing
Sure.
the doors off the Vikings wouldn't be surprising. But however,
in
the
Minneapolis.
Vikings are better and far more talented than their record shows, just
Yep.
like you were alluding to there. And this feels like a spot at a home game where they could get their act together, and
Yeah.
they do need to. Of course, beating the Panthers last week, get them in the win column, helps the confidence. The Vikings have the offensive firepower to keep up with the Kansas City Chiefs. I obviously the Kansas City Chiefs, I believe, are one of the best teams in football, but I do believe that their defense is a
It's
little
leaky.
overrated right now. Everybody's saying, "Oh, look at this defense. They're good. They're good."
Yep.
No matter what, Patrick Mahomes will bail them out whenever he
Sure.
needs to.
Yeah.
But I believe the Vikings can cover here. I don't know if they get the win. I think the Chiefs squeak out on a field goal, but the Vikings are going to make this competitive because they always do.
They always do. Everything goes back to the median. I don't care what it is. Last year, the Vikings won, I think, 11 one-score games.
Yes.
They were 11-0 in one-score games.
Absolutely.
This year, they're 0-3 in one-score games.
Yeah.
It's just
It's just how it goes,
Yep.
right?
It's football.
It's football.
it's just so weird to think about the differences between the seasons, right? Like last
Yeah.
year 13-4, now this year obviously 1-3, and they just got to win barely above an 0-3 Panther squad. So
0-4.
so sorry, 0-4 now. But also, if you think about it, I don't want to hear any Kirk Cousins slander,
Yeah.
and it always is going to happen. But the thing is, he's putting up the passing ratings, he's putting up the passing yards. He's like number 2, I think, right now in
Yep.
the league,
Yeah.
or number 3, something of that extraordinary. Justin Jefferson is putting up great numbers. Daniil Hunter has sacks upon sacks. This is a good squad. We also have KJ Osborne. Obviously, Alexander Madison has been struggling here and there, but this is a good squad.
Cam Akers
They've just
now.
had Cam Akers.
Yeah.
They've just had some tough blows.
Yeah.
Sure.
But at the same time, talk about secondary, talk about offensive line, talk about the fact that Kirk is a pocket passer and he needs his offensive line to back him up. And that's why the reason this is not going well. So don't say anything to that point. Talking about specifically now Chiefs and Vikings, it's going to be either a blowout or it's going to be very close. And my money is on it being close because unfortunately, I know a lot of people think that Minnesota is going to give up. We've been through this before. We're going to show up. We're going to show for our Chiefs.
It's off the key number right now. It's at 4
What is
right
it?
now, 4.5. Do
Okay.
you think they can at least just lose by a field goal for you? Because if you think that can happen, you're betting Minnesota.
I honestly, this is going to be crazy, but I do think that Minnesota drops the game just because it is the Chiefs and it's hard. But I think it's going to be a close drop.
Yeah.
I think they will lose by a field goal.
No, I do believe that the Vikings get up late in the fourth quarter and then Mahomes brings it back. Wins right there.
Yes.
By 4 or 3. Yeah. I do believe that they can cover this, especially if you can get it at 4.5, 5 points. But this feels like a shootout game to me, straight across. So I do like the over no matter what.
Yep,
yeah,
absolutely.
Big time. And also, you guys are missing out on the big X factor here, and that's I'm talking to a couple Swifties.
Yeah.
Yes, Taylor Swift.
Now,
what?
Get this. Just at one book alone last week, prop bets on Travis Kelce went up 7 times.
Oh, no.
7
way.
times as many bets at BetMGM on their app. And that's just Swifty saying like, oh, that's her man, that's our man.
That's our man. He's scoring. We're doing it. Well, if you look at like the stats wise, like jersey sales went up and looks up on
400%.
Chiefs and like all this other stuff went up.
Twitter
and
followers.
I like exactly. I like to call it the Taylor Swift effect.
She's got it.
It is. All right, should we move on to Monday night?
Let's do it.
The Packers are heading out to Las Vegas to take
Packers.
on the Raiders, where they are a slim 1-point favorite. They're probably, as far as numbers, they're going to be pretty close to a home team, even though Las Vegas on paper is the home team.
Yeah.
44.5 is your over. That's a 7:15 kickoff Monday night on ESPN. Gibran, where you at?
Yeah, I think I probably have to stay with the Raiders on this one. Probably not touching this one at all, Andy. It's just an ugly game between two mediocre teams, I believe.
Oh, yeah.
Correct.
You could make a case either way. The Raiders have played better in the second half in their loss to the Chargers over the weekend, but it still looked rough on offense. Las Vegas finished with 264 yards, 1 and 11 on third down tries, and 3 turnovers. As for Green Bay, they look pretty miserable in their Thursday night matchup versus the Lions, especially early.
Yeah.
The Packers would finish with 230 yards, 15 first downs, 2 picks, and a rough 3 out of 11 success rate on third down. So Green Bay has a few extra days to prepare on this one.
Yeah.
But won't be surprised if they fall to the Raiders here. I like the Raiders.
You made a great point there, but then you dropped the ball at the end.
Yeah, I usually do that.
There's in over 20 years when they get that extra few days there from a Thursday, then all the way to a Monday. It doesn't happen very often, but when it does, you're looking at like a 17 out of 20. I saw the stat earlier today where that team that gets that basically a pseudo bye week, not only do they win, they cover. And when we're just looking at a toss, a flip them, I like Green Bay here on the road. And I already mentioned how it's not really that much of a road game because there's going to be a lot of Packer fans in Las Vegas. Marissa, how do you see this one?
This is really hard because anytime I want to talk about against the Packers, I want to bet the team. Yeah, hate them. I want to go to the team that is like not the Packers.
Yeah.
Well, with the Raiders, it's really hard. Again, mediocrity strikes. But Jordan Love is surprising to say the least. I thought they were going to be better.
Yeah,
listen,
for sure.
I did. I know it's that thing, but it's the big shoes to fill when you got Aaron Rodgers leaving
doubt.
and all of a sudden now you're here and you didn't think it was going to happen so
Zach
soon.
Wilson,
That's what I'm saying. It's the same situation, but with Jordan Love, he's really stepped up. I thought he was going to be last, and I thought the Bears were going to actually beat him this year. I thought he was going to be last. No. But I can't do it. I can't ever root for the Packers. It's just not in me. So give me Isaac Cooch. And the TikTok people are gonna love it.
There
Isaac
we go.
Cooch or Isaac Rochelle and the Raiders.
All righty, Mr. Parlay Pounder.
Yeah.
You've been keeping everybody in suspense. You got a parlay play.
I do. I just got a 3-teamer, keeping it simple. We got the Philadelphia Eagles at the Los Angeles Rams. I'm betting this down to 3 points for the Eagles. I think they get it done against this, banged up Rams team.
Okay.
Second one, I got Cincinnati Bengals at Arizona Cardinals, taking them by 3 at a plus 100. I think the Bengals get on track against a lower echelon team like the Cardinals. And then rounding this out, I got the San Francisco 49ers, Dallas Cowboys coming into town, -3. That's -3 across the board, putting $25 on this to win 115.
Love it. You only got one plus money bet in on that.
Exactly.
So you're only taking one.
Eagles, Bengals, Niners.
Love it.
Come on, Bengals.
Yeah.
Just do what
Come
you're
on,
supposed
Joey.
to
Can we just
do.
win? Like Joe
Kuzma, let's
I
go.
don't understand what's going on. Joe Shiesty is not Joe Shiesty.
He's
like,
not right now.
why is he so bad? I just don't understand that.
He's
It's time
turning
to
it
fit
around.
that in.
He's turning it around in Arizona.
This week.
This
is
week.
it.
Let's
This is
do
it.
Love it. Thank you for that parlay play. And
Yeah.
Marissa, thank you for joining us.
For sure.
Thank you for having me.
Now, where can people find you? I think it's just at Marissa Voss, right?
Yep.
On X?
So TikTok and Twitter is at Marissa Voss. If you want to follow my Instagram, it is at Voss11. And then obviously Hurrdat Sports.
Yeah, and Hurrdat Sports, when you see a really good video, any flash to it, pizzazz, there's probably...
It's probably me.
It's probably
yeah.
No
I
doubt.
love that. Well, that'll about do it for us this week, folks. Be sure to follow us on ESPN Tri-City Radio and their Facebook page. Also on our Twitter handle and YouTube Shorts. Been having a lot of fun with those short videos.
Blowing up.
Love it.
We are. We're like we're expanding just like the universe, maybe a little faster.
Exactly.
We're right there with it.
Exactly. People are learning.
And then, Jabron, you're holding down the TikTok for those daily free picks.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, catch us on TikTok, catch us on YouTube. It's a lot of fun.
For Jabron, the Parlay Pounder, and Marissa Voss, I'm Andy Klassen. Thank you for listening. This has been WTL.